It's October 3rd, 2022, and I'm thinking to myself, if I was going to do some kind of star system cameo, never thought I'd have to, but here we are. I've tried earmuffs before. Again, it's like the mundane. How do you actually like jazz up a mundane? And when you're so superstitious, even Special Task Force Mark has to smile every now and again. So there's this. And then I'm looking at in the market where this came from. It's called Hyper. It's called a Cloud Stinger for C loud. Um, and for somebody who's been stung by hyper demic needle in the field on some sting operation I didn't know was taking place, and I was like crash test dummy on that one. So he says what it feels like. So I'm thinking to myself, if I made a video, if it was so imperative, and the only science program I've ever even heard of on the television that they allow from like big board media um, in this flag system is NASA. I mean, like, they speak of Elon Musk and his SpaceX, but not a lot. And it's not agency. So I'm sticking agency because I don't think Jeff Bezos is Blue Origins. I think that's private also. It's not agency. So, um, and I had real estate license for agent. Um, so anyhow, so I'm like, all right. So they use these things in the movies. They use them on some of the TV, some of the coaches I've seen when it's game day. I've seen pilots use them. When I was flown out of the Grand Canyon on my birthday, the pilot asked that I put on a pair of these so we could communicate. However, an SUV gets in a helicopter. I don't know. And that was it. I think that was the Havasu reservation, but whatever. Um, it was on document that I was there. Um, Geological survey. It was my birthday. I walked in, found out at the bottom of the Grand Canyon a few things, which was enlightening, which, unless you've ever been, like, on the surface of the earth, when the sun sets, it sets gradually, and you can watch it over the horizon. And it becomes very blasé because you are able to access it all the time. When you're in a crevasse deep in the earth's underneath the surface, and which they call a canyon in this part, when the sun sets, it's not gradual. There's light, and then all of a sudden there's darkness. And you're like, it is one of the most odd arrangements when you're not prepared for it. But again, adaptation being the way that it is. So, and also at that time, it was Alexander's third birthday. Um, there was no signal. And when I left the surface world and hiked into this canyon on foot, Um, there was loss of cell service. There was loss of the clock. There was sudden loss of daylight. Um, it was hours, and there was like dehydration started setting in. That was a scary kind of dehydration, but whatever, got through it. Um, and so there was no cell service, and down in the canyon, when there was no radio waves, no stereo system going off, like on the drive in, on the surface of Earth, as we drove in, there was only one radio station that came in on the radio dial, and it was like these love song breakups. The person I was with was Niente. I wrote a story about it. Try to make, like, I don't want to die from the hands of the person I'm with, kind of a way of writing a love story. And like, I know this is what you want to hear, so here's your ego. But anyhow, so it was on the dial, and it was very interesting just how apropos every the one song on the one station going in, and it would cut in and out. Then on the hike down, there was no, but the the friction in the air no longer existed, which was amazing, because I find in New York the air, just by itself, just in the stillness of the moment, there's so much frequency that comes through the ear. It's almost like listening to the friction of the molecules in this field of science, which some NASA representative put up there, that there's a stereo field um, for audio. There's a stereo, there's a heliosphere, and something else. Again, I'm just quirky bosun on this one, and I was a receivership of it, just reiterating the words that they used that might make sense to them in a kind of sort of but not really way, because I kind of sort of but not really. I need like a pictorial, like, demographic in order to like then build the construct of what I really actually mean. But that's like a face-to-face meaning. It's not really like over the out into the universe. I'm trying to use star system for this one. I mean, again, there's a brother star and a grandpa star. There's a star system, and the rest is on I need to know at Sappy. I got two Sappy representatives up there in star systems somewhere. If I'm on Earth looking at them on the moon and not having like LA in latency access, I don't know how to get to any of them in like a little sister kind of a way. Don't get like carried away. You guys are my sap for special access process if I'm in this lay low and wait for us to come to you. Yeah, like when? Um, I've been laying low since I was a kid while High Standard was completing whatever like the super special completes in his mission to be like super perfect, in super serious, who doesn't smile much except on special process. There was, I mean, again, I called it Hampton Party, but it wasn't like Nora Hampton's party. That's not my scene. Different Hamptons, different party. Don't know where they exist in the world. Um, but from like What a Ham to like the Sappy, I was thinking this morning about the pageant show that they paraded me through at what's called around here the Mildridge Inn. They had like clown makeup put on. It was like, I know the colors. It looked like peacock around my eyes. I never wore makeup. I felt so ridiculous when Handsome showed up from High Pageantry. I'm like, I am so embarrassed to look at you. I was like, I feel like a clown. I just did. Um, but that was on loan from the Smithsonian. The like, what did she wear? It wasn't like a high fashion designer of the day for Paris and Milan and New York and London. It wasn't one of those. It was vintage, 1920s, 30s. It was my real grandpa's star in the correct star year, like within that range while he was fighting wars elsewhere, both of them. Um, or maybe, I gotta think about this. I don't know if they were involved in the war back then, but it was a different kind of pageantry. It was a different kind of momentum. However, what I do realize in hindsight is somebody handed me something that looked like, I thought it was a calculator, but it was a very bright calculator. I didn't really know what it was. They wanted me to look into it, which I did. And I was trying, and then all of a sudden there was a bright flash, like on the MIB, um, Smythe the Will movie kind of a way. I think Hemsworth was in one of the later or latter day ones. Um, and it captured my face, but it made me incredibly dizzy. I had no idea what it was, and they said it was a pocket library. I was like, yeah, it hurts my eyes to stare at it. I don't, I was like, here you are. And then it made me dizzy, whatever that was about. Um, that was like early to late 80s. Actually, it was mid to late 80s. And there's a photo of me in the Smithsonian loaned outfit with someone, refers to himself as Nicholas. Um, but again, if I was to make a star system, I think Houston uses these, which is why I always do this, because it's like, if I have to make a call to Houston, how do I make a call? I mean, this one seems to be disconnected, but so is everything else in this LA, even though I'm NYC. In limited access at Sappy. Um, I think somebody once mentioned that to me at a Greek restaurant. I had no idea what they were talking about. I'm like, again, I'm not there in the conversation yet. I think I also, on a different birthday, when I asked for the jacket, at first I asked for a cup of tea. I don't know if he was Boston Tea Party or not. I have no idea. I walked into that one. Um, but if that was the Boston Tea Party, I don't know why they just didn't take me straight from there to where I belong. I don't know why they let me leave with the problem from 1975. Um, in our brother star and grandpa star even on the same wavelength or page ever when it comes to me. Special access process. And then there's limited access. I can't just step up to the moon and the moon doesn't just fall out of the sky. There's some kind of process it goes through at star systems to have the stars align, but I'm pretty sure that has something to do with wizards and witches and magic, and perhaps a Harry Potter's involved. I'm not quite sure. I don't know what movie reference. Maybe there's some superheroes somewhere in like real life. I saw the other day that there really is something called Guardians of the Galaxy. Did not know. In these parts, it just looks like it's theoretical movie magic, but not any real whatever. So that helicopter ride really did happen. Pilot really did ask that I put on a headset. Trying to think if there's anything else pertinent. I set up a follow up meeting for the impressions, um, so I could get clear definition, because I don't really know. Again, on a one-way conversation where the TV is talking at me and it doesn't really allow me to ask in some form of whatever, it gets really confusing what the humans actually mean by some of the ghost spell. I mean, there's gospel, and then there's the ghost spell, and then there's the just general interpretation at standard living or low lives. The low life living, they have one interpretation of what it means, but high standard, they scare me because sometimes they acronym it out differently than the way the low lives use it. And I'm stuck at low life consciousness, which has some kind of cognitive dissonance, and that frightens me. Because they're at such a disconnect. It's like the electric panel just being totally like cut off, and then however it evolved, and I'm just like, how is it being used? And what does it really mean in like this the star system I come from? And then I'm thinking, okay, so if I was in a movie and I'm talking about a real star system, because I can name two stars that where the stars align with the stars I was given at birth for this appearance, and they're superstars in some circus that they joined. They have loyalty, fidelity, they've got some real networks going on and obligations to the Americans, since that's the field of sport that they play. I happen to be located in such a demographical territorial area, almost like pomme de terre, the heart of the earth. So I'm like, so where are these? Where is the person that's hungry in the eye for me, my life, where I can be held near and dear to his heart? I think that's really the question I need to ask. I would have asked it at 16, 15, but I don't know if the person that I was expecting was finished with whatever cadence he was going through, or whatever citadel they go through in the super special. So I was just laying low, waiting for life to arrive on this planet. What I didn't expect was the blacksmith, like, welding in some alternative countdown, like some doomsday, whatever. I mean, the embodiment of time. It's what legitimizes church. It's what the umbrella that is held over the rain of what is coming down to protect the people. I mean, it is so, it's not cliche, I suppose. Maybe it is in some circles, but it has importance in being the embodiment and the legitimate part of defining time and avoiding fraud charges in a very specific way that follows very specific codes. And then after they messed up the SAP, the LA, and the laying low portion that I adhered to, because I have no other way of getting out of my own way or getting out of their way, they then tried to hold me to high standard after they already poisoned the effect, knowing I couldn't stay at that high standard of their expectations. And then the punishments started, which I also can't avoid because I'm like a sitting duck, totally blind and at effect. Meanwhile, when SAP, LA, and SA is involved, it's supposed to be a completely different dance routine. I just don't know where to go or who to ask for help. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way universe, galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. Then I think of my sons and I'm like, they would not think this was cool. Just so super serious knows. This is like their mother on some planet all by herself daily. And there are things that move and act and interact. But I don't know what happened to my kind. I don't know what happened to my journey. I don't know what happened to my story. And if I'm making a mayday call and like, I don't know how to like get out of this or get to where I need to be. What are those magic words with near and dear to my heart?